Hi, I'm Kristen Bell, and if you know my husband Dax, then you also know he loves shopping for a car. Selling a car? Not so much.
We're really doing this, huh?
Thankfully, Carvana makes it easy. Answer a few questions, put in your VIN or license, and done. We sold ours in minutes this morning, and they'll come pick it up and pay us this afternoon.
Bye-bye, Truckee.
Of course, we kept the favorite.
Hello, other Truckee.
Sell your car with Carvana today. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for these better days.
It is Friday, September 5th, Football Friday, Part 2. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today and tomorrow a better day. Why did I say tomorrow? Because tomorrow is College Football Saturday. And as I mentioned on the earlier episode, Football Friday, part number 1, is that this is what we're going to do each and every week. We're going to split the Football Fridays into 2 episodes. Football Friday Part 1 is going to be focused on the Thursday Night Football recap and taking a look at the NFL week ahead. And then Football Friday Part 2 is going to be focused on college football only. And so, here to join me on our first Football Friday Part 2 is AJ Hoffman. AJ, thanks for joining us here on Better Day. Welcome.
Thanks, brother. Well, good to be here, man. My first time popping my cherry.
You know, there was a lot of requests to have you on here. A lot of people were saying, yeah. A lot of requests to say, hey,
very desirable. Very
desirable. Have AJ on? They said, hey, listen, man, the pod's great, but like it's never been the same without AJ. So like you guys got to bring AJ back.
Good to know that I'm remembered fondly.
Well, we're going to dive into college football here. Not the greatest slate here in week number 2, but we still have some good matchups.
Thank God for point spreads, right? Thank God for point spreads.
Yeah. We still have some decent matchups, though, and let's start right away with a team that you are familiar with, and that is the Texas Longhorns. AJ, so much was made about Arch's performance in that game against Ohio State. I agree it wasn't great. But I've defended Arch, and I've said, look, there were a couple of throws in that game that were big-time throws, like literally throws that guys of his caliber only make. That throw down the left sideline in between the zone coverage, the almost touchdown catch was a ridiculous pass that was almost caught. Even the touchdown pass was a great throw. Did he look bad at times? Did he have poor mechanics? Sure. But that was also his first road start against an NFL defensive coordinator. I'm going to cut him a break here. I think everybody that's jumping off the Heisman ledge, I never thought he was a Heisman favorite to begin with, but I will say this. Buy in now, because the next 3 games, when Texas goes 3-0 and Arch puts up big numbers, he's going to immediately, well, maybe not jump to the favorite after the 3 games, but if they go and beat Florida and then they're 4-1 to start the year with a win against Florida and he looks good in that game, he'll become the favorite once again.
Yeah, I mean, and then after that, it's going to come down to what do you do against Oklahoma and what's he going to do at Georgia? Because at the end of the season, we're going to look at Arch's numbers, and even if they are great, which they very well could be. I mean, I think you are right. The next 3 weeks, he's playing just 3 dreadful teams. He should be able to put up some big numbers. But at the end of like when Heisman voters actually sit down, those are the games that he's going to be judged on. When you're the quarterback at Texas, the game you're judged on first and foremost is that Oklahoma game. Oklahoma's down, so people are going to now look at Georgia and this Ohio State game, and those are going to be his big moments, and he's already failed one of those tests pretty miserably. You're right. There were some moments. I thought he had 2 or 3 really nice throws. Of course, most of them came late in the game, but there was a lot of really, really bad quarterback play, a lot of bad decisions, a lot of bad throws that really kind of, to me, it kind of showed that he's still just a kid. And I said going into the season, the idea that this guy is going to show up and be Peyton Manning is almost absurd. And like he'd played 2 games against, Louisiana Monroe. I mean, you're playing against nobodies. Now you're going to Ohio State. Maybe we should have expected some of this. I expected him to struggle some. I didn't expect it to look like that. I've got concerns about Arch. The good news is, I mean, I've got real confidence in this Texas defense right now, which I think if Arch needs some time to figure things out, I think this defense is going to keep him pretty competitive, throughout most of the season. And if Arch is coming into his own around playoff time, maybe Texas can make some noise. But that's certainly the spot on this team, probably the weakest spot on this team right now.
Would you lay this big number here against San Jose State?
No, I would not. In fact, I'm looking at an under is my preferred play on this game. Again, we talked about that Texas defense. I think it's dominant. I don't know if San Jose State's going to score a touchdown. Their team total, most of the places you're going to find over under 7.5. I certainly don't think they will score more than a touchdown. And then it's going to come down to what does Texas want to show? Because as I said, these 3 games that are coming up, I mean, if they lose any of these games, there's a real issue. But that Florida game, that Oklahoma game, the Georgia game down the road, those are the games that this season is all hinging on. I don't know how much they're going to want to show. I don't know if Arch will play the entirety of this game. I've heard some people say, oh, well, they're going to want to boost his confidence. And I'm sure they do, but I don't think they're going to want to boost his confidence and put up a 50 burger. I think they're going to want to get him in there, get him out, and get him ready for the next one and see small progressions up until he plays against a team like Florida or Oklahoma. So assuming that Texas's defense does their job, I'm hoping that Texas scores, less than 45, and I think it's going to be a pretty safe under.
Total in this game is at 52.5, and that is an interesting angle to just go ahead and isolate the San Jose State team total to go under. So this is a team that also, last week against Central Michigan only put up 2 touchdowns.
Barely score. Yeah, they're not scoring on this defense. No way.
No. Okay, Illinois, the number 11 team in the nation, goes to Durham to take on Duke. Now, this is a game that I do have a play on. I have played, and I gave this out on the BetUS show. I am on Duke. I'm taking the points here. I'm taking 3. It's now down to 2.5 at Circa. Still 3 at most books across the board. I'm taking the 3 points with Duke here. I think that when it comes to the quarterback, I love Darian Mensah, and I think he can make plays. I understand the love for Illinois coming into the season, and I do think that Illinois could still have a tremendous year, but you're asking them to go on the road now to play against a quarterback that is not only mobile, but he makes throws on the run, AJ, which is so great. Like, if the offensive line gives him time, he's going to be able to attack Illinois down the field, because Illinois, last week, it was hard to judge anything, from their game. But what happened last week a couple of times is they couldn't cover down the field on deep routes. So if the Duke offensive line gives Mensah time, but even if they don't, he'll be able to roll out of the pocket and still create enough time for his receivers to get open down the field. I think there's going to be like a bomb shot or two in this game, and Duke might have an explosive play or two. So I love Duke with the points here.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, especially if you can find a 3. At under 3, I'm probably a pure pass, but I do like Duke plus 3. I think maybe I thought Illinois coming into the season, I know you said you got the love for them. I quite frankly didn't. I was not a big buyer into this team last year. I didn't think they were anything really special, and I don't think they're anything really special this year. Now to go on the road against a Duke team that is going to play fast, and Illinois typically wants to keep this game slowed down. Duke, I don't think it's going to give them that option. So I think Duke's going to be able to put an uncomfortable pace on them. I think Duke could win this game outright, but I'd certainly be on the Blue Devils at 3.
Let's go to the Cy-Hawk game. What a great game. Iowa State. And right now we've had some movement on the spread in this game. Iowa State is a 3.5-point favorite. I am on Iowa State. I obviously would highly recommend you get a 3, but I don't care about that the fact is now it's at 3.5. Here's what I would do. If you get a money line price of minus 165 or below, go with Iowa State on the money line, because a minus 165 is really the true odds on a minus 3, pretty much. So if you can still find a minus 165 or minus 160, I would lay that on the money line with Iowa State here. I think they win this game. I made a comment. I was on ESPN Las Vegas with Steve Cofield yesterday, and he asked me about this game, and I said sometimes the simplest answer is like the correct answer, right? That's the Occam's razor thing.
Yep.
And you can just say, hey, head coach, I think I got the head coaching edge because I think Kirk Ferentz has lost his fastball. So I got the head coaching edge. Quarterback, I got the quarterback edge for sure with Rocco Beck over Gronowski. And I got the home team. Coach, quarterback, home team. Simple answer, AJ.
Yeah,
Let's go Iowa.
I don't think it's simple once you get past 3. If you look at the history of this rivalry,
Yeah.
there are a ton of games decided by 3 or less. Like this is one of those games where to me this is a money line game one way or the other. I mean, if you're an Iowa State fan or the Iowa State backer, the only way I'd play it is a money line. I'm not so sure about Iowa State. Rocco Beck is very careless with the football. Like these fumbles are really kind of becoming an issue. And I think in hindsight, we're going to look at that Kansas State game. Certainly, I'm looking at it now a lot differently than I did week 1. Like maybe Kansas State just isn't good because they looked pretty awful last week. And now we're like, okay, well, how good is Iowa State really? I don't know. I don't think very highly of Iowa either is the one thing that's keeping me from jumping in on this. But to me right now, if I had to make a play at 3.5, it's going to be on the dog just because the history of this rivalry has these two teams playing so close. And while I agree you do have the quarterback edge, I just don't trust Beck to not let go of the football at some time. He is showing to be very, very careless. That's problematic to me. I got a slight lean to Iowa here, especially now that it's over a 3.
So here's what I was looking at. So Iowa State's won 2 of the past 3 matchups, but they haven't beaten Iowa at Ames since 2011. So they're looking for their first home win in quite some time here. The quarterback of Iowa is Mark Gronowski, the kid that came in with a ton of hype because he won the FCS equivalent of the Heisman Trophy a couple of years ago when he was at South Dakota State. But that was in 2023. His numbers last year dropped off from where he was in 2023. Now, is that, hey, everybody's got film on him? Maybe South Dakota State wasn't as good of a team last year for whatever reason. But I do get concerned when I see a quarterback's numbers drop off from that. Last week, he had issues against Albany. 8 of 15, 44 yards and a touchdown. He did rush for 39 yards and another score, but he didn't pass well against Albany. And then, so I think it's going to take, it takes a game or so. He's going to get comfortable in this offense. But this is the thing that I looked at. I looked at every road game this kid has ever played in his college career. Playing at South Dakota State, he's only played 2 road games in FBS stadiums. At Oklahoma State, the first game of the year last year, he did throw for 2 touchdowns and an interception. They lost that game 44-20. And he played at Iowa the first game of the 2022 season. He was 10 of 26 for 87 yards and 4 sacks in that game. They lost 7-3. Now he's got to go to Ames for the Cy-Hawk game. This road environment, I don't know if this kid's going to be able to handle it early on. So I'm very intrigued here. And that to me is why I'm going to back the quarterback that I trust more in Rocco Beck against the kid that I have not seen play at this level. That's the basis of my handicap.
I get it. And I think on paper, I mean, if this weren't a rivalry game, I feel I think you're on the right side. What I do know is it's been 20 years since Iowa State beat Iowa by more than a field goal in this game. I mean, it is... That is a long. So even when Iowa wins 15-13, 44-41, 9-6, last year 20-19. When they win, it is by the seat of their pants. So again, if you wanted to tell me you'll play it at 3, I don't hate it. At 3.5, I'm firmly on the side of the yellow and black in this one.
Well, I will say this though. Station's last man standing. I'm shoving all 5 entries right here on Iowa State -2.5.
Okay.
Thank you.
I missed that game. I miss playing that game. I wish I was there for that. Stations doesn't like my business, but I do miss playing that game.
Hi, I'm Kristen Bell, and if you know my husband Dax, then you also know he loves shopping for a car. Selling a car? Not so much.
We're really doing this, huh?
Thankfully, Carvana makes it easy. Answer a few questions, put in your VIN or license, and done. We sold ours in minutes this morning, and they'll come pick it up and pay us this afternoon.
Bye-bye, Truckee.
Of course, we kept the favorite.
Hello, other Truckee.
Sell your car with Carvana today. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's move on to the next game. Baylor at SMU, and this spread now SMU down to a 2.5-point favorite. The total opened up at 65. It's down to 63.5. I don't really have a feel on the spread in this game because I wouldn't be surprised if Baylor goes and wins this game, AJ. But I did take a shot on the SMU team total going over, just because Baylor's defense couldn't stop the run against Auburn, especially the quarterback run. Like Jackson Darnold looked really good in that game. And I think Kevin Jennings, who had multiple games last year with double-digit rushing attempts, is going to have the same here in this game. SMU averaged 44 points per game at home last season. So they went 6-1 straight up, 5-2 against the spread at home. I think they're able to score on this Baylor team. I mean, we could have a very, very high-scoring affair, and Baylor could win this game, I don't know, 38, 35, whatever, 41, 37. I'm not going to take a side, and I'm just going to go with, I think SMU scores. I'm going to go SMU team total over. And
yeah, I'm against the market.
So it was at 34.5, but the fact that the game total has gone down, we now have, let's see, because we got to update these numbers here, because the game total went down, we actually have SMU now at 32.5.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm against the market with the market's moving towards Baylor and towards the under. I like SMU and the over. That, like you mentioned, that defense for Baylor against an Auburn offense that I'm not really sure is great. They were horrific, particularly like you said against the run. Now I did like some of what I saw out of Sawyer Robertson. He was able to throw the ball around. I like this SMU team, I think, more than most people do. So I've seen a bunch of money come in against me, but I'm firmly on SMU here. I like SMU to get this thing. I like them to win by probably around a touchdown. But I do think this is a game that could get way up into the 50s, 60s.
All right. I like that. I feel better about my play now. All right. Good stuff here. Good stuff. Okay, let's move on to the next game that has a relative spread. And I'm surprised that the market has actually moved against me in this one, AJ. Ole Miss at Kentucky. I was very comfortable laying the 10 with Ole Miss. I was very comfortable even laying the 10.5 at Ole Miss. Now it's down to 9. I still feel great about laying the 9 with Ole Miss. This is a revenge spot for Lane Kiffin. Remember last year Ole Miss lost to Kentucky, and that was the game that kept Ole Miss out of the college football playoff. If they would have beaten Kentucky last year, they're a playoff team. And that might have been Lane Kiffin's best team with Jackson Dart, his best chance to go win a national championship at Ole Miss. This is a big revenge spot here. I think Lane Kiffin pours it on Mark Stoops in Kentucky here.
I generally agree. I've been down on Kentucky heavy this season. I mean, the idea that Mark Stoops said, "Hey guys, it's been real. I'm off to Texas A&M. I'm taking the Texas A&M job." And then he, says his goodbyes, announces publicly he's accepting the A&M job. Then some booster at Texas A&M says, "Whoa, I don't think so." And then he's got to come back with his tail tucked and tell his team, "Hey guys, it's me. I'm back. Remember me? I'm here. I'm all in." I think that's a real tough sell for kids. I don't think this team's thrilled about playing for Mark Stoops. Zach Calzada stinks. I mean, Zach Calzada is, if he's at Incarnate Word, he's going to be pretty good. Zach Calzada as an SEC quarterback is a trash can. We've seen it before at A&M. We're going to see it again. I do not trust this kid at all. I'm with you. I think it's Ole Miss here. And I also love backing Lane as a guy who is petty. And if he's got a chance to grind his foot onto you while you're down, he's going to do it. So, I don't understand the push towards Kentucky either. I think anything under 10, I'm in with Ole Miss.
Number 13, Florida hosts South Florida. South Florida coming off the upset, of course, to Boise. Florida laying 17.5 at home. Is this the letdown spot after South Florida gets the big win at home against Boise? Now they get demolished by Florida.
I mean, that's certainly one way to look at it, and I wouldn't fault you for doing that. It's kind of original thought was, yeah, I'm gonna go and attack South Florida here, coming off that big win, but Florida has LSU on deck, then Miami, then
Mm.
SMU, then Texas A&M. I mean, obviously they want to win, but do they need to get margin here? Well, you know, the gauntlet that is that is Florida's schedule is about to begin, and it is relentless for about the month after this, and really you get like one or two breaks a period after this, depending on how good Florida State ends up being. I don't understand why Florida would want to go out here and get margin. They have a quarterback who is a health risk. I don't know why they'd want to keep DJ Lagway in late into games. I can't imagine that they will. I think that they'll get the job done and then sit him down. I want to back Florida because of that Boise State win, but this game's going to be a pure stay away from me. I just think there's too many moving parts here.
Yeah, I don't have a great feel. Like I said, the first inclination would be to fade, as we mentioned, South Florida here. All right, let's move on to the big game of the night and the big game of the week here. Number 15, Michigan. Number 18, Oklahoma. The Sooners, 5.5-point favorites. Have we seen a little movement here? I saw some fives on the board. What is your take on this game, AJ? Because there's an interesting way that I'm going to look to attack it.
What I do know is Oklahoma is going to be really good on defense. Beyond that, I don't know, but I do know they're going to be good on defense. We saw Underwood look really nice last week, but that's against a poverty opponent, and this is Underwood's first big road test. And we've seen a lot of these hyped up quarterbacks get on the road, and boy, that first game on the road, Arch Manning, it's not as easy as it looks. The other thing is he just doesn't have any weapons. I understand Michigan's recruiting and they're trying to build this thing back up, but Underwood really doesn't have a lot to work with right now. I think this is going to be an ugly game. I think it's a low scoring game. And it's hard for me to say I want the favorite and an under, but I kind of look at it that way. I lean towards Oklahoma for sure, but I think more than anything, I like this as an under day. I just think it's a lot of pressure on a young quarterback going up against a really, really good defense in a tough road environment. And I don't know that I still don't know where I'm at with Oklahoma's offense. They looked okay at times last week against Illinois State or it was one of those Illinois teams. I didn't walk away from that feeling like, oh man, they've really got things figured out here. So it's going to end up being an under and a strong Oklahoma lean for me.
So I'm going to play Oklahoma in the first half. That's how I'm going to attack this game because this is Bryce Underwood's first ever road start. And what did we see last week from first-time quarterbacks making their first road starts against big-time defensive coordinators? Didn't work out well for Arch and some other quarterbacks as well. I think this is the spot to fade Bryce Underwood. He could figure it out later in the game, and Michigan could be just fine. Michigan could pound the rock, and I agree with you. I lean towards the under in the game, and so does the market because this thing has gotten all the way down to what we're at 44 right now at some boards, 44.5 at some books. I just think the way to attack it for me is Oklahoma in the first half. I'm going to fade Bryce Underwood early and think that it's going to take time for him to adjust. So that's the way I'm going to go for it. Plus, I do think another game for both John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle, the duo coming over here from Washington State, quarterback and coordinator. I think they'll be better in game number 2. I don't have to worry about their comfort level with each other or the comfort with this offense, but I do have to worry about Bryce Underwood going on the road here with Michigan. So I'm going to lay the 3 and hopefully get a 2.5 on Oklahoma first half.
I like that approach. I think you may be doing the right thing there, not letting Underwood get comfortable, not letting him settle in. That may be the way to approach it. Is if you do like Michigan, if you do like Oklahoma, get after them early on.
By the way, I was looking up just a trend to see anything about that, South Florida situation. Since the start of the 2021 season, if you beat a ranked opponent as an unranked team, and then the next week you are once again unranked playing another ranked opponent, 10-16 straight up, but 14-12 against the spread. And
That's pretty
South Florida
solid.
South Florida is the only team that applies here. Now,
Okay.
if let's go back the last 2 seasons. How about this? Since the start of the 2023 season, you're 6-5 straight up, 8-3 against the spread.
Okay.
That, yeah, that's crazy.
That 8 and
Last
3
year,
is a good. I'll take an 8-3. I'll take a blind shot with an 8-3.
I'll take a blind shot with an 8-3, 5-3 last year. These teams ATS again,
Okay.
South Florida against Florida, 17.5. Maybe. One final game, AJ, because I got to get your thoughts on this. UNLV, UCLA. UCLA laying points on the road. Nico did not look good at quarterback for UCLA in their first game, but I think it actually says more about how good Utah is going to be this year, right? I think Utah is clearly the class of that Big 12 right now. But UCLA laying 2.5 here in Vegas. Total is at 55. We saw some buy in on the under earlier in the week. This thing got down to 53. There was some pushback. It went back up to 55. I love the over in this game. I think Nico and the UCLA offense will look a lot better, especially going up against the UNLV defense that ranks, after 2 games played, bottom 15 in the nation in tackling, according to PFF. And then I just think that UNLV is going to be able to score. This offense looks good. Jet Thomas is a really good running back, and Anthony Calandria is a solid quarterback. This Dan Mullen offense looks good for UNLV. So I think
Yeah.
they're going to score their fair share of points, but I don't trust them to stop UCLA. Even, everyone's talking about how bad Nico looked in game number 1. Again, that says more about Utah than I think it does about UCLA.
Well, I think Nico sucks, so I'm not quite there. But these are 2 teams I wanted to fade. I knew I'd be fading most of this season, and for UNLV it was particularly because of their defense. So I think if I had to play this game, I think the way you're looking is the only way to look, because I don't trust UCLA at all, quite frankly. So even against a team that I think is pretty bad in UNLV, I don't feel good about that team against anyone. They quit against Utah, and I know Utah's good. I agree that Utah's good, but to just show no fight in that game was pretty embarrassing. So I think they've got some real issues they're trying to work out, and I don't know how much that team buys into Nico. I don't know how much, there's a reason why a bunch of teams said no to Nico's asking price. There was one team interested at that number, and that was apparently UCLA. I think they're going to end up having some buyer's remorse, and I think that when a dude who is a very average guy is getting paid the way he's getting paid, the players around him are probably not thrilled about it. So again, a team I was looking to fade, but an over I don't hate, because I do think that both these teams are going to be able to score given the opponent defenses.
Good stuff, AJ. Thanks so much for doing this, man. Really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to doing this more times throughout the season. I'm not going to pressure you into doing every single week, but I will be calling on you most weeks here for our Football Friday Part 2 episodes. Yes, we have 2 parts of the Football Friday episodes. Part 1 comes out normal time, 5:45 a.m. Eastern time on your regular Friday morning, just like the Better Day Pod in the newsletter comes out each and every morning. And then a little bit later on Friday, maybe like before 1 o'clock Eastern time or so, you're going to get Football Friday Part 2 focused on college football. My thanks to AJ Hoffman, our guest today. You can follow AJ on Twitter at AJIsTheReal. You can follow me on Twitter at ScottsOnAir. Make sure you head to betterday.com and subscribe. Get all the newsletters and the articles, the picks as well. It's all free right now. Go ahead and join our community, and make sure you make today and every day a better day.